Well, good evening, everyone. Michael, soothing here. If it looks like I'm dressed the way I was in the last video, that's because I'm cheating today and making 2 videos in one day. Now I was still working on one of those ginger candies. I have a personal matter to discuss with you, so maybe I'll have a little less humor in this video than normal, but I just wanted to fill you in so that we can monitor progress going forward over the next year or two as I continue to make ASMR videos. And the issue I'm telling you about is that I have been diagnosed with a type of blood cancer. It's a rare form of Non Hodgkins Lymphoma, and it's called Waldenstrom's macroglobulinemia, also known as lymphoplasmacytic lymphoma. Lymphoplasmacytic, the reason it has that long word is that the blood-borne cancer cells are both plasma cells and lymphocyte cells as they morph in the lymph system from one form to another. And to make this very simple in layman's terms, this is a rare disease that's not curable. However, it is treatable. I expect to be around for many, many years, and I have just as good a chance of outliving this disease and having some other thing go wrong later in life as any. But the treatment will be very difficult and very expensive. I'll explain that later. But first, a simple explanation of how this works. Your bone marrow in your body produces many kinds of blood cells and products. It produces hemoglobin, platelets, red blood cells, various kinds of white blood cells, the ones that boost your immune system, killer cells that go after infections called T cells and B cells. And in my case, that factory in the bone marrow that puts out all these kinds of cells has been taken over by bad guys. And the bad guys are producing 90% of B cells that are cancerous, a type of cell. And so they're not normal B cells, and they produce a big protein spike in the blood that doesn't belong there. And they prevent the bone marrow, since they're making all of these mutant cells, they prevent the bone marrow from making the good cells that I need. So, for example, I told you in my last video why I look so pink. Well, I look so pink because I just had a blood transfusion. Plus, I was out in the sun today. And the blood transfusion makes me almost feel normal. I feel like Superman compared to how I was feeling, because this condition, this lymphoma, had gotten so bad that my blood cell counts were down to about a third where they should be. So my red cells, for example, the red cells are like little trucks, and the little trucks go and they get oxygen from your heart. The little dump truck in it, it fills up with oxygen, right? The little red blood cells. Then it runs around in your veins and arteries, and it feeds that oxygen to every part of your body, which all desperately needs that oxygen. Well, since I didn't have enough little dump trucks running around with the oxygen, my vision was failing. My hearing was failing. I was absolutely exhausted and fatigued. I could barely walk. I had vertigo and dizziness, shortness of breath with even the slightest effort to do anything. I had a foot going bad. I had a somewhat enlarged liver and spleen, which is typical of this disease because they're trying to work overtime to clean out the bad B cells that have this MYD88 mutation. All right, so how did I find out? I've probably had this for quite some time, but it just got worse and worse. That is why you don't see me as often. I have no motivation to do anything because I'm just exhausted and feeling terrible. Or I was before this blood transfusion. Anyway, so I went to the doc for the first time in years for a full workup because I had this horrible insurance plan before I could get my I just got my Medicare, but before that I had Obamacare, which was extremely expensive, and it had a $14,000 deductible, and it didn't pay for anything, and nobody would accept it, and it costs, $1,200 a month, and on and on. Paid so much for the premium I couldn't afford medical care. But if I went in for medical care, it wouldn't pay for it anyway, till I laid out $14,000 out of pocket. Anyway, don't make me rant about the horrors of Obamacare, but in any case, now I'm covered. So I go in and the doc starts doing blood tests, and I could see the test results the same day online. And I saw all these really low counts for hemoglobin and white cells and platelets and red cells. So I called him up and emailed him and said, "Doc, am I still alive?" And he said, "Just barely. I think you have something terrible. You need to immediately go to the oncologist." So I went there and got a good oncologist, and we proceeded to go through lots of tests, more blood tests, genotyping tests. They even sent samples to the Mayo Clinic for genomic typing DNA stuff, and found the expected mutation that goes along with this particular. Do you know only 5 people per million per year get this thing? That's how rare it is. I won the blood cancer lottery, right? Because it's so rare. There are other types, by the way, of Non Hodgkins Lymphoma. This is just one. Some are better types, better meaning not as severe. Some could be a little worse, like multiple myeloma. But anyway, enough of all of that. Where were we? So he had me do, a CT scan. Have you ever had that done? It's a little bit strange, okay? You have to drink this radioactive stuff. I forget exactly what they call it now. Now it's been 3 or 4 weeks. But anyway, you drink this radioactive stuff the night before. You can't eat any food. And you drink it in the morning also. Then you go and they put you through a scanning machine that looks at all your organs and everything. But they infuse you with some additional radioactive stuff that's very fast acting. And it's so strange because suddenly you get this hot vibration, bizarre feeling all the way down through your body. It kind of can grip you behind your stomach, and I don't know how to describe it. It's a bit, I wouldn't say it's a terrible feeling, but it's a strange feeling. And you get scanned, then I had to have many lab tests, several the last few weeks, of all kinds and varieties. Then I had to have a bone marrow biopsy. That's not very fun. I think I'd rather go to Disneyland than have one of those, or maybe I'd rather play poker. Because in a bone marrow biopsy, they don't put you out. They do put some anesthetic down in your hip area and your back where they're going to pull it from. Then they go down with a big drill, right? And they draw a core of bone marrow out of you. Like those ice core things you see on National Geographic, where they're looking at ice from millions of years ago. So they were looking at bone marrow from millions of years ago. Well, actually, no, it's current in my case. But they pull out a core. I don't know why, but Joanne insisted on watching this procedure. I would have passed out if I had to watch, probably myself. Don't like seeing blood stuff going on. But anyway, although I was anesthetized, my body knew it was undergoing tremendous trauma. Things drilling into your primary bones and such. And so all the blood drained from me. I broke out in a sweat and all of that. And they have to do this kind of several times. So that was not fun. But in the end, I got the full diagnosis. Well, what do they do to fix it? I'm going to go on a treatment plan. And here's how it works. No heavy-duty chemo for me. I don't want to poison my whole body with toxins. But they have this advanced drug, an immunotherapy drug, which goes in and targets those nasty little B cells that don't belong in there, that are reproducing themselves like crazy. They're like rabbits, They're little sluts, okay? They're just proliferating and mating and reproducing like mad. And so this targeted therapy, it goes in and it interferes with their reproduction, so they can't do that anymore. And when it does that, that enables my bone marrow to start making good cells again, the way it's supposed to. Thank goodness. What is the downside of this drug? Well, you have to take it every day for the rest of your life. That's one downside. Another is it costs more than $10,000, not per year, but per month, okay? I'm still figuring out how much of that will be paid for by my supplemental insurance, Medicare. That still leaves a copay that's huge, like $3,000 to me out of pocket, but I may be able to get access to foundation money and so forth to help pay some of that. The other downside is this medicine, this immunotherapy works for some period of time. And I looked at all the big studies of people who've had this done, taken this particular therapy, and it works for a while, and then eventually it stops working. How long is a while? For some it's a year, for some it's 2, for some it's 4, for some it could be 10 years or more. If it stops working down the road at some point, then I have to switch to something else. And then maybe that will work well. Okay, so the prognosis is that I will live many years with a high quality of life. But there are some side effects to even these targeted drugs, so I'll let you know in the future, when I'm a few weeks into it, how that's going. Meanwhile, you may be asking yourself, is that guy, Michael Soothing, going to now start feeling frustrated or depressed or angry or bitter? You know, we all had a good friend in the ASMR community, Sassy Snacks, aka Sassy Crafts, and this isn't like what happened to her. You know, she got a very aggressive pancreatic cancer from which almost no one survives more than a few months. In my case, it's quite common to live 10, 15 years, or more. And maybe something else will get me in the end and have nothing to do with this. So I think I'll be very healthy once I start the immunotherapy. And I feel, so how do I feel? Depressed? Unhappy? Do I feel cheated or like this is unfair? None of the above. The strange thing is, it's just the opposite. I know that sounds odd. I feel extremely blessed that I can have something like this and it can refocus. It can help me refocus my life on much more important things by reminding me of my mortality. So I'm refocusing on spiritual issues, my Christian faith, being kinder to others, family members, to make the most out of the years that I have left. When you get something like this seriously happening to you, it kind of wakes you up out of your stupor. We all have this personal immunity thing where we think nothing bad will happen to us. But I really see this as more of a blessing than a curse, because it's really reshifted my focus. I find that I no longer have road rage impetus when I'm driving with the most moronic drivers in the country in Oregon. They are the stupidest. Okay, anyway, but I no longer feel, road rage at them. I just say, yep, there goes another moron Oregon driver going over the center line and almost causing a head-on because they can't be bothered to pay attention to their lane discipline, or over on the right shoulder, pulling out in front of traffic, that's going 40. And I mean, they all do this. It's like I've never seen anything like it. There's no driver training here. I think that's why I had to train Joanne. There's no local course that you can take. But anyway, I don't know if they take it in school. When I was in high school, we had driver training as part of the curriculum. And it was quite good, I remember. I still remember the stuff they taught me. Parallel parking and things. Nobody knows how to do that now. Or they get a Tesla and tell it to park itself, which I think is cheating myself. But anyway, it's like, would you want to be in a self-driving car all the time? I know you younger people probably think that's really cool. You can sit there and play with your phone the whole time. But I love to drive and see the scenery and go places, road trips, travel. I would hate a self-driving car most of the time, except when I'm tired and want to take a nap or something. But anyway, that's way off topic. I was explaining that I feel really good about life. Now, will this change my personality so that I no longer have my skeptical, sarcastic sense of humor? Could it be that suddenly I'm more tolerant of flat earthers, for example? Could it be a new era where I just listen to everyone and don't critique them? Could it be that it's like I just consider everybody's opinion just as valid? Could I be kind to people like Jody Arias and flat earthers? Nah. Okay, I'm not going to change. I'm not going to change what I think. I'm still going to tell you. So don't worry. My personality is not going to, it's just that I'm going to be less argumentative with family members. Are you one of those people who, you read everything you can get your hands on? You're like a learning sponge. And so when people around you say really stupid stuff, like echinacea cures colds, you just feel this compulsion to say, look, I've read all the studies and it does no such thing, okay? That's like buzzkill all the time. You're no good at parties when you're that personality type, unless you can bring some humor into it and make it fun. So no, I'm not going to change, who I am. But I am going to be more absorbent of life than I even was before. More cognizant of my eternal destiny. More prone to do things that I was always thinking about doing, but never getting around to it. Ministry and helping some people, things like that. So I just wanted to share with you what's going on, because I might make reference to it from time to time. Like, if the medicine's making me vomit, I might come and say, hey, I'll be gone for a few days until this. So you have to take this other medicine too at first, which has worse side effects. It's a dual therapy. And so one of them I just do for 3 or 4 weeks. Then I take a break for months from that one and just do the one expensive drug every day. But anyway, I'll let you know how that goes. But meanwhile, and not only am I going to not be deteriorating, I think you'll find I'm going to be bouncing back much stronger than I was over the last few months and year or two. At least that's my hope. But I'm not deluding myself. I've read all the studies with all the different people that have had the same thing and gone through various treatment plan types. I don't just listen to what the doctors say. I go dig deep for myself. And I've done that, hundreds of hours of reading and research to make sure I'm on the right path. Now we are making some lifestyle changes. I told you, I alluded to it a week or two ago. We're doing a lot of anti-carcinogen foods and things so that I can protect against side effects and other forms. This particular lymphoma, it doesn't cause tumors and stuff usually, quite rare. And it hasn't gotten all my lymph nodes inflamed yet. It would have if I went a few more weeks or months without treatment, but luckily caught it just in time. So so that I can avoid that. So yeah, we're doing more vegetables and fruits, organic ones in cases where it's high risk. If we don't buy organic because of the lower risk vegetables and fruits, then we wash them well, make sure there's no pesticide residue. Taking anti-carcinogenic substances as seasonings like turmeric, which is very good, and several others like that. Ginger, I don't remember the whole list off the top of my head. Joanne is doing it. Pepper is good. There's a whole bunch of things. So I've done a lot of looking into the nutrition. And I just don't believe people that make claims. I have to go find the good, scientific, well done, double-blind studies, and if it shows a real positive effect and the study's designed well, then I accept that it's something that could be beneficial. Here's a good one, for example, that you might not know. And don't take this the wrong way and abuse it, okay? But a glass of red wine is very, very good for you. It helps prevent cancer, heart disease, and many other things. Now, I know that you've probably heard this in the past about red wine, and then you've heard that more recent studies said, no, all those previous studies are wrong. All alcohol is bad for you. Well, there's some element of truth in both of those things, but the biggest meta-studies, the latest research shows that alcohol or red wine has what you would call a U-shaped curve, okay? U-shaped curve, and what that means is if you have no alcohol, no red wine at all, you're at much higher risk for various types of illnesses. Certain cancers being one of them, and also certain heart disease and so forth. If you have up to 1 glass of wine per day for female, or a little bit more than that for males, you get to a point where you minimize your risk and you add health benefits. But if you increase that amount of alcohol of any kind, red wine included, then you go back into the danger zone where you're harming your health. So, for example, if you women out there, it's not licensed to drink, because first of all, it's really just the dark red wines that exhibit the majority of this effect. Merlot, Cabernet Sauvignon, etc., Malbec. But secondly, you have to limit it to just 1 glass or less for women. If it's more than that, you're doing more harm than good. So that's the caveat. You can research it for yourself if you're interested. We're eating things like nuts that are high in omega-3s. That's very good for you. Fish that's high in omega-3s, but not too much of the fish that could have mercury. Like tuna, I would only eat once a week or so, maybe twice. Same with salmon if it's wild. So a couple times a week, fish. I'm avoiding red meat and processed meat, but not entirely avoiding red meat. I will have a burger now and then, because I'm not going to go wacko on this thing and stop enjoying life, I mean, if I can't have a burger, why live, right? So, anyway, yeah. But it's all those kinds of things. whole grains, so I'm getting used to whole grain toast instead of, sourdough toast, which I love. But I'll still have a piece of sourdough now and then, all right? Not going to go crazy on it. Not going to get cultish about it. So, yeah, we're eating more fiber. You have to have a lot of fiber in your diet. So what is it? The seeds. She's been giving me some seeds or other. And she makes fruit smoothies each day with, the stuff that have... Okay, one of the substances in red wine that's so good for you, it's not the only thing, but it's one of them, is resveratrol. Don't know if I'm saying that right. It's a very important antioxidant nutrient that helps protect you against a myriad of diseases, but it's also found in certain nuts, and it's found in blueberries and cranberries. So we're working some of that stuff in. But anyway, my last video was the whole video. Mungo beans, legumes, peanuts, even split peas. Legumes are what's the legume that's so good? I can't remember. She's been making soup. Lentils. That's it. Lentils are very good for you. Got all kinds of good health benefits. So I'm not going to preach about nutrition. I'm just telling you what I'm doing. It's really weird in Oregon. You go into... I've been to the hospital now. So I avoided the hospital like the plague for my whole life. And now I've been over there to the clinic or the hospital or the oncology center like 12 times in the last month. And I go in there and I notice so many nurses and people are huge. I mean, they're like 500 pounds. And I think to myself, you guys know you of all people should know, you're going to die young from all kinds of diseases, right? But it doesn't see, they see the effects every day, people coming in, but it's a little strange to me, but that's Oregon for you. We're not known for health and fitness clubs around here, at least not in my part of the state. I'm not lecturing anyone. I'm not one of those finger-wagging types, but it's strange to me that nobody notices and wakes up when they're in the medical field themselves. It can be tough, though, when you have a busy life. You get into bad habits and you're working all the time. Maybe there's kids at home. Maybe you eat as a stress reducer, etc. So maybe someday I'll do a nutrition counselor role play. Should I do that one? People have been asking for many things. Do more conspiracy theory videos. Do this, do that. I want to do them all. I really do. I've been so low energy before now, but I'm feeling so much better since the blood transfusion that made me pink and brought oxygen to all my body parts again. Some body parts really want that oxygen too, if you know what I mean. And suddenly I feel like a new man. Okay, ask Joanne about it. No, don't ask. All right. Sorry, everyone. I hope this wasn't so personal that it became non-ASMR. My hope is you fell asleep to the sound of my voice and didn't have to listen. How rude that someone would drive by when I am making the final moments of my ASMR video. Drive by in first gear with a Dodge Challenger or something. All right, gotta do another car video in the future. All right, everyone. Tell me if my personality has changed, just so I can change it back. But otherwise, I hope you got something relaxing. If not, wait for the next one. I think I'm going to do one on art, because I've got a big art book that I found when I was going through everything. I am going to do one with classic LP vinyl also. I found those records and in a big storage container. So I'll do another repeat of that. It's been many years since I did the last one. Take care, everyone. Don't ASMR and drive. I love all my subbies. All right, bye for now.